What do you think about the tight ends?
I was actually really impressed about Albert O. I'll be honest with you. I actually saw some of his tape from college, and I don't really watch college ball. I'm not a college guy, so I actually liked what I saw, and the fact that we were robbed of a season of Albert O due to injury, it really broke my heart because here I was actually did my homework, getting excited of what could be a really fantastic relationship between Noah Fant and Albert O and Drew Lock, and it just kind of fizzled. And Noah Fant, I love the guy, but when him and Lindsey are on the same boat, they try to play when they're injured, and while I admire their spirit, it actually ends up hurting more because they're not playing at 100%. When they're at 100%, those two guys are incredible, but when they're wounded, it's a whole different story.
I actually disagree. I actually think Fant played pretty well when he was hurt. I actually think the Fant issue was Shermer probably trying to protect Fant from himself. But I actually think Fant played quite well when he was hurt. I was actually surprised at some of his cuts and the way he was breaking out of routes and stuff. It really caught me off guard. Especially when I just heard the week before that, he had an issue with his ankle and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I just said, well, I mean, I've really hurt my ankle like badly, and I'm not sure I could do that on a hurt ankle properly. And so I think that was really, really impressive. No, I was also never pumped up with drugs before I went on the field either. But that's another story. I was really, really impressed with how I saw. He was Albert 100%. He absolutely was drawing those defenders. And actually, Albert, I think it's also more important. He was not just drawing like the tier 3 and 4 defenders. He was drawing more often than not the CB2 or the cornerback 2, and sometimes if they had a bigger safety, he was drawing the bigger safety to try and slow him down and stop him. So that was something to make note of, is that other teams, they know what they're dealing with, and they're starting to fully understand the kind of effect on their defense that Fant can have. Albert O, though, I'm very curious. They didn't really use him much in the blocking game, and they did a couple times here and there, and he did okay. Actually, he did a lot better. All the narrative that came out of Albert O for his absolute atrocious blocking, I thought he did okay.
Yeah, agreed.
I didn't think he did great. I certainly thought he did better than some of the other tight ends we've had.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I really question is, if Locke was struggling at the beginning of the year and you had Albert O sitting inactive on the bench, to me, that's a no-brainer. You say you bring in the guy that there's natural chemistry with. I mean, I'm not sure. If anyone remembers that first throw that they kind of threw a catch and pass. I'll speak eventually. And so if you actually look at that, I mean, the mic'd up moment that happened there, and that you heard Albert O after the game, where Drew ran up to and said, "Just like Mizzou, baby," and so there's clearly a natural kind of camaraderie there that's already naturally built up. And in a shortened off season with a new offense, to previous comment earlier in the show here, to me, that's a no-brainer. Why didn't he play earlier?
Yeah, and it looks like from now I'm stuttering. And it looks like we may have our 3-team tight end in Noah Fant, Albert O, and Troy Fumagalli. I think Fumagalli more than redeemed himself. And I know that there's a bit of a backward situation in terms of contract, because Fumagalli was let go by Denver and then he was brought back up. So, but
I was a huge fan of him. He was one of those guys where I said, oh, and I kind of had one of those types of moments, because you literally expected him to just kind of be a quick fill-in, right? And I actually thought that he outplayed Fant. Jake Butt was hurt again.
Surprise.
For like the 12th time or 15th time, I don't know, I lost count.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, because he seems like a really good guy, and everyone around him certainly seems to be rooting for him. But you know, I knew a bunch of guys too that were really, really good at what they did, and they were amazing players. But the problem is that their bodies just were not cut out to play that kind of sport at that kind of level. And the higher up you go into the ranks from college into the pros, you're just dealing with a different class, a different grade of people. So,
Right. Fant became decent at it. Alberto was hard trash at blocking, says Mr. Boggins in the chat.
I said decent. I didn't say all pro.
Well, there's room for improvement. But we can honestly say these three gentlemen are better than Jake Butt, as you said. They're better than Jeff Hireman, and they're better than Mundungus's favorite, Nick Vanette. And so it'll be interesting to see where Denver goes in maybe towards the end of the draft, if they can find a tight end, maybe undrafted, maybe in free agency. So it's good to go into the offseason not searching for a tight end, and it'll make their decision a lot easier in terms of Jake Butt and even Nick Vanette. I'm pretty sure those two guys have probably played their last down as Broncos.
Oh, I don't think so. I think Denver will probably keep Vanette around.
Probably.
Or well, it'll be Fant. I hope at least it'll be Fant, Albert O, Fumagalli, and Vanette. And then my hope there is they just say, we got our guys for this year, and or coming up to next season, and then you don't have to worry about anyone else.